Hello, gorgeous. I'm Tammy. This is I Am Inspiring Women. And this week we have another great interview.
All right. Good morning, Indra.
Good morning.
So this morning we have Indra. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. I know you know, the rest of the world doesn't really know, but I'm super excited to have you here. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Start,
I told you I was going to start. My intro is already ready and already done, so let's get going. Tell us about it yourself.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So I started my business numerous years ago, Silent Moon Imaginarium, where I began creating flower essences and natural products for women mainly. And let me just say, it's not just for women, but I found out that over the last 5 years, the keys to my work were women, really. And I never kept it closed to men, but I realized that it was women that wanted the work. And so I created Silent Moon Imaginarium and started making flower essences from the moon cycles. And that goes way back into the time when I actually went over to Peru and worked with ayahuasca for about 4 weeks. I went over there and did about 6 ceremonies on ayahuasca, and it was the plant medicine that actually told me that I needed to work with flowers. And guess what I did? I ignored it. As you do.
Mistake.
And I
always works that way.
I didn't listen, and I came home and I just continued with. I've been a yoga teacher for now. Oh my goodness. I started teaching in 2001, but I've actually been doing yoga since I was 17, and I was 48 yesterday. I know, everybody, I don't look it. So
you're gorgeous, of course.
Thank you. It's the blue hair. So yeah, yoga was the base of all this. So I just went back into yoga, teaching yoga to mental health, people with mental illness and addiction. And then bang, the whole flower essence thing came back into my face. And I knew then that I had to do it following the moon energy. And since then, weirdly, I was probably one of the very few that was doing it. But since then, obviously, there's quite a lot of people that are working with the moon cycles now. I've always been one of these people who's had quite a lot of confidence in myself as being somebody who's ahead of the game. I tend to always have ideas way before other people do. I create them, and then it's almost like that leadership. I naturally am a natural leader, so I've always lived like that. I was one of the first people to ever do naked yoga.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not teach it. And I actually did like some beautiful photography with a photographer in my town, and they went out on the internet, and I got some really, strange things said to me. But I knew that this was going to be a big thing, and that people were going to be in a few years' time, they were going to be out there doing this. And lo and behold, there's even classes now.
No, nude yoga is like a huge thing. And I appreciate that, because people are so closed off about the body.
Yeah, totally.
Myself, even, I love, if the kids aren't home, clothes are off.
Wow. Excellent. We didn't know this conversation was going there, but look.
Yeah, we didn't. But being okay with our bodies and being okay with who we are is a big issue. And we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with, how we look. Absolutely. We have to change that taboo of, you can't walk around. I'm not saying everybody take their clothes off and go walk around naked. That would be kind of distracting, to say the least. But, being comfortable in our skin
totally
is really important in having self-confidence and being comfortable with who you are deep inside. So I wouldn't doubt that of you, because you're amazing. So
yeah. Awesome. So but you know what, in my teens I suffered from a terrible eating disorder, from anorexia, and I always said if I survived that, I would actually teach yoga, because it was yoga that saved my life. So it was for me, that's what took me into mental illness, into working with mental illness and addiction, because eating disorders are habits and addictions. They are part of the whole addiction thing. I mean, really, the food isn't the issue. It's the control of something, you know, and
Which is with anything, you know, whether it's eating food, you know, alcohol,
absolutely.
eating food, obviously, alcohol, drugs, they're all you trying to control something that you feel is out of control. So absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what kind of led me on to where I am. And then, of course, bringing up 2 children and being a single mom, as we've discussed. And then, you know, it's for women, you know, to step into these roles of, for me, I've never, ever, ever, well, I've never been able to work a 9 to 5. You know, believe it or not, I have so much life experience. I was a police officer. People never believe that of me, but I was in the police force. I was even an air stewardess, you know, so I have that basis of normal life. And I always knew from a very young age that I just could not work under somebody or for somebody. And so I believe I was very lucky that I learned that so quickly, because I've never taken on a role like that again, because it wouldn't be worth their while taking me on. Because I'm too outspoken and I work better on my own. And so I have a creative idea and I build on it and I work with it and I bring it out to the world, and then I go away from it and I start something else. And you know that, you know.
Yeah.
You are quite similar like that. And I think we are a certain type of person. And I think as well, I like to say to people, you know, I like to be one of those people who leads and says, you know, you have permission to bring your wonderful mess, dare I say, into
your true outspokenness, that bigness of yourself, bring it out to the world and allow it to be seen. Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially now, you know, with everything that's going on. I mean, at the moment we're in the COVID thing, which, you know, you and we have our own views on that, but I don't want to stick with that. I just want to say, you know, people are finding right now that they need to have, you know, they need to look at their own selves, go into themselves and find out who they really are. I think I felt recently a real loss of identity. And to me, that's not a bad thing, because this is rebuilding. Something's rebuilding, you know? And to me, that's about letting the old just go. So you caught me at the right time, because to me, just having a birthday, I never class the 1st of January as my new year. My birthday is my new year. That's my personal new year. So I made some vows to myself this morning about what it was that I wanted to achieve by the time I'm 49 on the 11th of November 2021, you know, and I've already said what I need to do. You know, I put it out there.
I think that's a great idea, because when along that same line, when Roy got sick 2 years ago, our 50th birthdays, we're in the hospital, shit's falling down around us. And we made the decision, okay, let me rephrase this properly. I made the decision.
Yeah, cool.
I kind of drug him along. And I said, okay, we've been doing things the old way. We're starting over again. Our 50th birthdays, we are reborn. We're in the hospital. Let's just pretend that this is our birthday. This is our new birthday.
Yeah.
So this year I turned 52. So everybody's, well, how old are you? I'm like 2. And they're like, I'm sorry, what? I'm 2. Like a little kid. I'm 2. But, and then I explained, we were in the hospital and we decided that we're starting everything over again. We have the experience of, you know, those past 50 years. We plan on living a hell of a lot longer. And so everything that I've been doing now is really implementing everything that I said I was going to do, that, you know, I let life get in the way of.
Yeah.
And so I completely agree with you on getting a reset on our thoughts around birthdays, our thoughts around how old is, and all of that mess.
Absolutely.
It's not worth it.
No.
So what kind of limitations or challenges did you have with, being a leader in bringing elixirs of flower elixirs and working with moon cycles to the world. How did that work out?
Well, you have to, be aware that people are gonna say, things like, "Oh, what a load of rubbish," and you put you down, and it challenges your self-worth, I think. So you have to be strong. I constantly work on myself. I always have done, and I have a daily practice. And if I don't do that, then I'm out of balance. And I always encourage people to have their practice, especially, if you know you're on a journey to somewhere, where you're constantly in change and shift, and I'm always changing, I'm always shifting, and I'm always prepared to learn, is that you have to have a practice. You have to have some form of practice that's going to keep you stable and balanced and in harmony. So yes, we all know now with social media, and we know because we met on Periscope, is that it was Periscope that gave me the strength to work with this work that I do, because there was so many trolls. I don't even remember, there was so many people that would attack you. And I look at myself back then and how I used to deal with that to how I deal with it now. And I am such a different person. I don't care anymore, what other people say. And when I do, but when I do, I notice it. I am aware of it, and I shift the emotion as quick as I can, as fast as I can. And that's big with me. It's been able to shift out of that energy as quickly as possible. So yeah, I do get people saying stuff. I think I had to work on my boundaries. And for me, a woman, that's huge, is boundaries. What I'm prepared to take and what I'm not prepared to take. And that just doesn't go down to my business. That's in my life, with my children, with the person that I'm with. I think they probably get more leeway. Families do, don't they?
Of course, but we as long as we set boundaries that are good for us, we empower ourselves more than we realize.
Absolutely.
And it's holding to those boundaries that you find is sometimes a bit of a challenge. Like you said, with family, you think, oh, I'll let them, give them a little bit of leeway. Okay, fine, but not too much. Because then you're going back on what the promises you've made to yourself.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. So what I notice is that even with clients, when I shift my energy in myself and I step up, the old will drop away and the new will come. And years ago, when I started teaching yoga, which was years ago, I used to look at that and think, oh my God, they're leaving me. But now I know when people leave, it's all about room for the new. And it's a good thing, So I always encourage people to try new teachers, and because I'm confident in myself that I'm good at what I do, and that's, I know there's certain things that I have to get through, and I have to do, and I face blocks with it still, but I know myself enough to know how to step myself forward, and I really encourage women to look at themselves like that and realize their worth. It's huge.
How do you suggest they do that? So I'm going completely off script because I want to well, because the whole purpose of this is an interview to get to know you. So of course we want to get to know you, but getting to know you, your business, and that of course goes right in line with how do you say, okay, you need to be in your strength. Well, all of us has a different way of doing that.
Yeah, sure.
And so what do you suggest?
So I'm a big scripter. So I will script situations. So I work a lot on manifestation. So scripting is big for me. So this example of scripting is that if you have somebody who puts you down and something that hurts you, you take what they've said and you're aware of it, and then you turn it around. So whatever they've said to you, be aware of it, and then tell yourself, in the script, I am worthy, I am worthy of, I am worthy of, and just continue writing until your energy will change and your energy does shift. Definitely.
Oh, and I know it does, absolutely. And the key is actually writing it down.
Yeah.
That connection between your hand and that piece of paper with the pen and writing it out. I've had so many people say, "Oh, well, I do that, but I don't write it out. I don't journal." What?
Yeah, you do need
It's
to
surprising to me how many people don't journal.
Yeah, you do.
And they think, okay, if I just say it in my head, or I think about it, it'll shift. It does. It takes a lot longer. So you make the decision. Do you want to rest in that pain and that frustration for however long it's going to take for you to change, or start writing, because that shift comes a lot quicker?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's definitely as well as the writing, not and doing the imagination work as well as, or saying it as well as. Affirmations don't work if you say them with a negative energy. You could say an affirmation with positive words, but if you say it, it's about the feeling. It's not about the words. So if you're saying a positive affirmation, but you're saying it and you're really, I don't want to say this, forget it. Don't waste your time.
No, it doesn't work. It's all about your energy, how you're feeling. Absolutely. Yeah. So when you got started with doing the flower essences, were you doing your yoga, did you have to borrow money, or did you just get started to kind of ease into that? Or because you do both now still, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, never borrowed money. I've always been one of those people who's been very aware that money's an energy. So I don't know. I've always been very lucky like that. Money to me, I think I listen to people the way they talk about money, and I can't be in that energy sometimes. I just see, money is not something that you should talk about like trash, because if you do, then what's going to happen? You're just not going to get the money. So if you think money's an energy, and you know that it comes and goes, you give it out, it comes back in,
I try to remind people that this took some work in myself, is are you going to talk about your best friend? Are you going to talk about somebody that you love the way that you talk about money?
Yeah.
If that is the case, then that person's not going to be around you. And that's the reason why money is not around you. If you say, "Oh my God, I hate it, I never have enough money," it's the root of all evil is the key thing. If you said that to somebody else, they would leave you. And you're like, okay, I don't want to be around you because you're mean. But it's the same thing with money. Energy, absolutely. Absolutely.
In the UK, people say, I don't know if you use the word in the States, but the word skint. Do you use the word skint?
No.
I'm skint. I'm so skint. I'm so skint means I've got no money.
Right.
I'm so skint. And when you hear people say that, I'm so skint. Oh, I've got no money. Can you get that for me? Because I'm so skint. It's just like, wow. And often you'll find people who say they haven't got money have got money. It's just their energy towards letting the money go, because they can't. They get worried if they let the money go that it'll never come back. But it's actually the opposite. If you keep the money and you store the money will never come in.
Absolutely.
So it's about trusting the flow of it, the energetics of it, And I'm not saying, oh God, it's always been easy and all that, but I've always been able to live. I manifested this house with a yoga space in it that I could work in from home, so that I didn't have to work in a hall where I'd have to pay a lot of rent on a room. I wanted my space to be in my house, and I manifested it. And as soon as I saw this house, I went, okay, I rent the house, and God knows how long I'm going to be here. But then again, that's just okay, because then I move on. But, the yoga space is there, and I can teach from that space. And that's what I wanted, so I could teach from home. So I got it because I trusted that it would be there for me.
I had an idea of what you wanted, and then said, okay, letting that go and saying, okay, it'll come to me, and I don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
That offers freedom, and saying, okay, I don't have to worry about the how. It scares a lot of people.
Yeah, it terrifies them.
I have to know how. I have to know what exactly is going to happen. no, you don't. If you do, you're limiting the possibilities of what you may end up getting.
Absolutely.
Because trust me, the universe has so much more for you. And
Yeah.
it's just shutting yourself down by saying, okay, this is the only thing that I'm going to go for.
Yeah.
So how long did it take before you felt successful in this business? Because you're somebody who's a pioneer. You've got people going, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And for the rest of the world to catch up to you. It's like,
just feel successful, full stop.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel, the same was with yoga. Yoga was one of those things that I just naturally did. And I was from a family where, my dad was Indian, and I was from the base of my life was, based around, yoga tradition and stuff on one side. My dad was a Sikh, and then my mum was an Irish Catholic. So I had these two extremes, you can imagine, but very warrior energy, both, the Celts and the Sikhs. I mean, God, it's just like crazy. But I always had that feeling of my yoga. Yoga wasn't really massive when I started teaching. It was still quite old school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started watching it shift and change, and how it came into its new form and mixed with Pilates and this. And now it's on the internet, and you see, all these beautiful women doing poses, and that's all very nice, but that's not yoga, but that's how it's become. Now I teach it very traditionally to people who want the real sort of core of yoga. I don't mind people coming up. Of course, my classes at the moment are on Zoom, but I don't mind people coming in their pajamas or in their trashiest gear, because it's not about what you're wearing. So to me, that's success. If I don't have to honor the labels and be in that world of I've got to be dragged around and be part of this energy that to be seen as this amazing yoga teacher, I just am. So to me, just being me is a success in itself. I feel like really privileged that I can go, okay, this is, I don't have to be that, so that to me is success. Whereas somebody else would look at it as like, I've got a New York Times bestseller or whatever, and I've got to have that to prove that I'm a success. Maybe I will have a New York Times bestseller, great, I'd love to, but that'll happen in
that's
time.
That's not what makes you you.
No,
not at all. No. You being you being the original Indra, nobody doing anything like you do, I believe that's success too. So,
but that's the funny thing, because that's what people pick up on with me, is that that's why people like my energy, because it's
absolutely
unusual, and it's like they don't. And sometimes people get attracted to me because they don't understand me, and they just want to know, what the hell is she?
Someone who's living their truth.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a unicorn. No, we need to be all doing this, and we can all do this. Join me. Come on.
But I always
you guys can be like me, being yourself. It's not that hard. It's just, having that self-assurance. It really is.
I knew this as a kid though. And it's like when I opened the group, the Yoga for Freedom group, it's not up to me. It's not about numbers. It's about finding the people who connect with that feeling of, I'm Yoga for Freedom, disrupting rigidity, because somebody said that to me once. It was last year. You're a disruptor of rigidity. And I loved that, because I thought that describes me perfectly. That
going against the grain. Perfect.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love that. So I used it because I just thought that's perfect for me.
So how did your family support you with, both your parents are so different. Did they support you in you? Okay, I want to be a yoga instructor. Yes, I did the traditional stuff. That didn't last. I want to do the out of the box stuff. How did?
Great. And it was quite amazing, because my dad, he's passed now. My mum's still alive, but my dad, you would think as a he was a Sikh, and he was obviously traditional Sikh living in India. Came over to the UK. He trained as a doctor. Came over to the UK. Came on the boat. Took his turban off, and was, came over and fought his way to the top. And my dad became a surgeon. An eye surgeon, and he was well respected. And I didn't know how well respected he was until I went to his funeral, and there was 500 people there. The place, he'd saved sight. He'd done so much, my dad, in the UK, and worked for the NHS, and was so loyal to the NHS, and so I learned a lot from him. So he was always very much about just do what makes you happy, and he could always see that I was not a traditional sort of person. My mom, though, I think she was a bit more she is a bit more she wants to say this. She won't mind me saying this, because she is a bit more controlling of situations. My dad was a lot more freer. You would think it was probably the other way around, but it wasn't. No. So like things like getting my nose pierced, getting tattoos, my dad would love it. He loved the color. He loved, just do it, whereas my mum would be, oh my God, that's disgusting, but my dad wouldn't think twice. So, so my upbringing was very laid back. I could pretty much do what I wanted. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. It's just how it was. My dad wasn't somebody who put the rules down. I mean, in the house, yeah, okay, this is how we live. But I left home at 17, and never went back.
Same.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I understand. And are you like an only child, or are you?
No, I have a sister who's 7 years older than me. Yeah.
Oh, so you're the baby. Okay. And I'm the oldest, and yeah, my younger sister is very, very outgoing.
Yeah.
Way more so than I am. And
wow.
Yeah. It's funny, you get the family together, and my mom, my sister, and I, and my brother is like the quiet one in the family, and you get the four of us together, and we're having 4 different conversations at one time. And I remember the first time we had dinner, Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, at our house, and Roy's not used to that at all. He's an only child.
Oh wow.
So it was him and his mom. So here's my family, loud, talking to each other, going, 4 different conversations, and he's sitting back, and
what?
After dinner, and everybody's gone, he's like, I don't even know how you do that. How do you know what's going on? How do you understand who's saying what? How do you understand any of that? And I told him, this is nothing. This is how we woke, this is how we grow up, and it's the same. So when we were on Periscope and people were like, how are you holding a conversation with 3 different people and painting? This is nothing. It's perfectly normal.
Absolutely.
So
I do get that. We like that as well. We are like that.
And we've got to play into our own strengths, and we've got to realize what we're good at. And it's just funny, sometimes we don't realize what those things are. So being able to do that, and having family that supports you and helps you be who you're meant to be, it's great to have that. It really, really is. So when it comes to goals and that kind of stuff, you said you've set goals for yourself for this next year. Is that something that's written down, or you have a vision board, or is it something that is obviously ever evolving? But how do goals play into what you do?
Oh, always. Yeah, I always have goals. Yeah, I always do have. But I work with them through my manifestation work. So I do follow very much sort of the teachings of Neville Goddard. I'm a big lover of Abraham Hicks, and I know we like kind of similar stuff, but I am obviously into that kind of work. And I do a lot of Joe Dispenza's work as well. So I'm working with the quantum field, and because I'm a great believer in the attraction of energy to us within our own energy field, you know.
Yep.
So all these people are people that influence my life and always have done. And I just go with where I'm at the time to who I sit with, you know. It'll be one or it'll be the other. But I always set myself goals that I need to achieve. Otherwise, I've got a lot of air in my chart, whether you believe in astrology or not.
Yep.
I do have a lot of air in my chart. I'm not somebody who goes, okay, this is my chart, and I've got, oh my God, I'm like that. But I do, and I can float around in life if I don't set myself some kind of, you know, goals. So yeah,
I've actually only just starting to get into that astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I've always known what my sign is, and I've read horoscopes and that kind of stuff, but I didn't really understand it. And I started reading on it, and that and numerology. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I did not realize how accurate and how enlightening those are. I was, for a long time, I was very much science. If I couldn't see it, I didn't believe it, that kind of thing. Yeah. And yeah. And that shift, and it started when I started really studying quantum physics and quantum mechanics and that kind of stuff, and quantum, all astrophysics and all of that stuff. It's kind of eye-opening when you think this stuff is not woo-woo. It is whatever you want to call it, but it actually works. And shutting yourself off to it does nothing but make your life miserable because you're fighting it. Yeah. And once you change that and shift and now allow yourself to do it, and the astrology, reading on that and starting to study my charts, I'm like, holy crap, now I understand. Roy and I are 9 days apart. And 9 days is not that long, but it's enough that when I'm looking at my chart and I'm looking at his chart, I realize now why we are so similar and yet so different. Yeah. And it just makes a lot of sense. And holy cow, I'm having a power surge again. All right, so listeners, if you don't know what that is, it's called a hot flash for you normal people. But oh my gosh.
Whew. More hot tea.
Right. See if it works. See how this goes. So what do you do for personal development? You do your morning routine. Explain that to us a little bit more, and then tell me what else do you do?
Okay, so I'll do my morning routine. So I'll wake up and I'll do a meditation. So it's usually at the moment it's one of Dr. Joe's meditations. I was going on his long intensive in London on the 18th of November, but it's been cancelled due to COVID. So that's not going ahead until next year. So yeah, it would have been amazing, but obviously it wasn't meant to be at that time. So we just kind of, okay. So always, at the moment it's Dr. Joe's work. So a 45-minute meditation, and then I get up, I write my, it's not so much, I use the words, I am so happy and grateful now that, and then it's my manifestation stuff. So whatever comes to me, I write 10 things in the morning. I am so happy and grateful that, and so that I work with the energy of manifesting this in the external world. So start here. I'm so happy and grateful that, write them down in my journal. It can be anything from, I'm so happy and grateful that I've received a free cup of coffee today. That happens a lot. Anything that I want today, I'll ask for it. Okay. And so then I'll get up and I'm a cross trainer. So I do a lot of different types of training. So it might be a day for yoga. It might be a day for a run. It might be a day for jump rope. And so I'll always do about 50 minutes to an hour of physical training. And that's the beginning of my day. Every day I'll start focusing on myself before I look. And this, I'm going to say this really strongly to people: before you pick up that cell phone,
Yes.
soon. I love what Dr. Joe says about that, because we get caught up straight in there in the world of everybody else. So we've already taken our energy out of ourselves. So we're already in that world. And we're already looking at Facebook, we're scrolling at people's breakfast, we're just like, oh my God, and then you've gone. You might as well just stop where you are, and you've already gone out there. So please, if you're going to set up a practice, you do it before you even look at your phone, and you'll find that from any spiritual teacher or any teacher that does this work. That's one of the main things. They deal with themselves first, and then they give themselves a time, whether it be 9:30, 10 o'clock, then they pick up their phone, then they start with their emails. And I know, because I've looked at my phone before my work before. So I have the proof that it sends me off somewhere else,
And you're not centered, you're not in that space that you can go back to. When the shit hits the fan, you can go back to that space from that very morning and go, okay, I don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And go back to my happy place.
Yeah.
Which you create and you cement each morning.
Yeah.
You can't cement it if you're instantly on your phone checking emails and checking Facebook. No, I'm the same way. Yeah, I may not have the same structure every morning. I may not have, there's some mornings where I get up now I get up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm wide awake. And so I make use of that, and I'm like, okay, I can meditate now. I'm wide awake. I'm not going to get on my phone and start checking whatever. No, I can do my meditation or I can do some journaling, and then I may go back to sleep for an hour because, it's 3-4 o'clock in the morning. But if you aren't creating that space for yourself, no one else is going to do it. So you need to do it. And that space is your quiet space that you can go back to and be calm when the craziness happens around the world. I really feel that the reason we were talking, you said something about this earlier. The reason I feel like this, what's going on in the world right now, COVID here in 2020, we're going to look back at this and realize that was the time when I got to reassess my life. I got to decide whether the way I was living my life was beneficial to me or not, and do something about it. And if I'm doing something about it, I can make it a positive change, or I could make it a negative and just keep it the way that it is. It's a global reset. Mm-hmm. And like you said, this is a phenomenal time.
It is, absolutely.
Go inward and look at who we are, and do we like it? Do we like where we are? No, let's do something about it. Yes, let's commiserate and cause even bigger problems. But a lot of people have decided, no, I'm shifting, I'm changing, and I'm going in a different direction, which
absolutely.
You got needed.
I mean, we're back at the moment. We're back in lockdown in the UK. There's our second lockdown. So yesterday, I've never had a birthday where I've had rules set on me that I can't go here and I can't go there. But do you know what? As soon as I found that out, I changed and shifted the energy of it, and I thought, well, I can do what I want to do, and it can make it really crazy. So what we did was we got some champagne and we put up the Christmas decorations, and we played music and we danced all night. I mean, it was late. And we made paper chains. And you know what?
Behind you, I know. I was looking at that.
It's one of the best birthdays I've had.
Yeah.
So thanks, lockdown. So you can make of that what you will. You can sit and be miserable and think I can't go to a restaurant, or do the same old thing. You've had the opportunity to do something different that you probably wouldn't do. When would I ever put Christmas decorations up on the 11th of November? Never.
Oh my God, Christmas is not here for another, it's December. That's when it starts. No, I can do things. I can leave them up all year if I not want to now. That's my year. It's Christmas. They're staying up all year. Yeah, we get so lost in the rules, and this is the only way that, I have to breathe because it aggravates me so much when someone says, this is the way that it's always been done.
Mhm.
So change it. You can change it. You have, or I've always done it this way. I can't do it any other way. I don't know how to do it any other way. Google and YouTube will be your best friend if you only give it the chance to. You can change. I get frustrated when people don't think about the opportunities because they feel like they're constricted in this little box. You're not. You have much more control than you realize. Absolutely. Even when you're in lockdown.
Absolutely.
I can decide that I want to shift my energy and I want to have a good time regardless of whether I'm in lockdown. And you had a fantastic time. It's like, yes, this is great.
It was great.
So from looking from the outside in, I think, okay, yoga, fun. Collecting flowers, fun. All of the things that you do are fun. So what do you do that you consider fun?
Well, life is fun.
I know.
That's my kind of my philosophy. When you say write down, what do you really want for your life? And to me, it's just to continue to have fun, because I think I'm like really big on humor. Like, I love humor. So if I'm feeling in a place where I feel a little bit crap, the first thing that I will do is put on a favorite comedian or something to lift my energy. I have to laugh. And I think humor is one of the greatest things ever, and I've always had quite a dark humor, and so I just like to continue that and have fun with it. And I think life is about fun. I think it's not about sticking to a particular job, or some people like that because they like the structure. But I learned from many people that you can change at any time. You don't have to stay here. You don't have to stay in that place. You don't have to. You can create that Facebook group, and then in 2 weeks' time you can take it down. It doesn't have to be that you have to stay there. It's like playing. I know a great coach. Her name is I'm going to plug her here. She's called Pazit Perez. She's in Miami. She's from Canada. She's amazing. She's a brilliant manifestor. I've worked with Pazit many times, and she always says to me, just like an idea comes, you think about it, you manifest it, you bring it in, you play with it, it works. And if it doesn't, start again, do something else. Who's to say that you have to do, that and stick to that? And, I always think at the time, if that works for you, that's great,
I love you.
If it doesn't, it doesn't, I guess it's one thing that I don't do, that I'm going to be accountable to this with you, because you know this about me. I've always had a thing about being an artist. And I was always, as a child, told that I couldn't do art. So I had this thing about, I was always told as a child as well that I couldn't run, but I shifted that myself, and now I run. I don't listen, and I do run, and I run well. And I was always told that I couldn't do art. And you were one of the first people to change my mind about art, because I realized that you didn't have to paint like Picasso pictures to be an artist.
And it really is. It took me a long time, because like I had told you, is my father is an artist, and he does beautiful oil artwork, and it's realistic. It's his own style. So it's not realistic. It's stylistic, I guess you might call it. But I looked at his paintings and I thought, oh, that's the way you have to paint, because that's what I'd already always seen. And so when you think, okay, I've got this mindset, and I think this is the only way that, artists really are.
Yeah.
It's difficult to, because you think, okay, I'm a kid, I can draw whatever I want, I can, color outside the lines. But then when I hit this certain age, I should be able to, do things realistically. I should be able to, draw a cat that looks like a cat, draw a tree that looks like a tree. And it's limiting ourselves on what we can actually do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, good.
Okay. So
yeah. So anyway, the art that I do, I mean, you've seen, oh God, I'm like Paisley Queen me. And I'm just like I realized that my art, 'cause I'm very into color. And so I realized that my art reflects who I am. So it's about the flow. It's about taking a pen and just like going where it goes and then coloring it in. It's almost like I really should listen to me saying should. I actually should create a one of those coloring books, because that's very much like my art that I do,
yeah, it's very freeing once you realize that you don't have to go by anyone else's rules. Roy used to, I'd have to get him on here and have him explain. Somehow he ended up delivering paint to Jackson Pollock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what? Really? And that was one of the questions Roy asked him, is like, how do you do this? He's like, I don't give up what people say. I don't care. And you have to have that strength in yourself to just say, you know what? I don't care. I'm doing this because I like it. And I think it's funny now that everywhere you see like the acrylic fluid art and the people throwing throwing paint onto the canvases on the floor. And it's like you being that pioneer and doing things in a different way that allows other generations to do this now. It's okay because someone has done it. And being that person who is out in the forefront is not always easy. You get the backlash, you get the people going, oh my God, what are you doing? What? That nobody's going to want to buy that. Nobody's ever going to want to do that. They are. You just have to be strong enough to just keep going and not allow those naysayers and those energy vampires to get in your way. So it takes some strength, but I admire you for that, because even when you said, oh, I don't do art, and I'm like, no, everybody does art. Find a style that you like. You didn't go, oh, no, I can't, no, and shut it down. You're open enough to say, okay, yeah, let me try it. What the heck? And then you send me pictures of, you're like, oh, they're just Paisleys. I'm like, they're beautiful, because you took the time and you spent some relaxation and just let it go.
Yeah, it's relaxation to me. I have it was that, I think I showed you the lampshade that I created, wasn't it? That lampshade.
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful. And
this lampshade.
It's a lampshade, but it's really pretty. And I like it because it's something that you did. It's not something that you went to the store and bought something that's, manufactured by, China. Yeah. It's original and it's unique and it's you. So what other, I love you so much, seriously.
Just give it a go.
What other women out there do you have that inspire you?
What, sorry, did you say?
Who are some women who inspire you?
Oh my God, Frida Kahlo. She's my big girl. I like Frida Kahlo. I absolutely adored what she stood for, and I need to make it over to her house one day in Mexico.
Let us know when you're going, because Roy and I'll come with you.
Love to go. Who else? I'm trying to think who else I really admire. You know what? You are one. And I've got an amazing friend called Rachel Crow. She works with women. Rachel's going through chemo at the moment, and she's been She's just a warrior, and I watch her every day in the work that she's done with women, with the moon, with again worked with moon cycles. But she was one of the first people to create natural sanitary products for women. And Rachel's a good friend of mine, but I've got great admiration for Rachel. She's like one of my heroes. So Rachel Crow, yeah, I plug her because maybe you could get her on she will talk.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be spectacular. If you can connect us, that would be great. I would love to do that.
Much work with women. Much work. She's done so much work with women. But she's just powering through at the moment, and just watching her energy, her blogging, her vlogging, and doing, and still being there despite what she's going through. And that, to me, I'm not looking at the people who are famous or anything like that. I look at the people who are here now. My kids, my children, my two girls, they inspire me every day because they are both, oh my God, my biggest teachers. We know why we get these kids, right? And they have no issue telling me when I'm, doing wrong. It's like they don't kind of hide from me. They just go, that's just not okay, Mom, or whatever.
I admire that they're strong enough, and I see that. I can't imagine you not having strong girls because you're such a strong woman.
Yeah.
But allowing your kids to, say, look, this is not how it's gonna, this is not working. I love that. It's great.
But because the big thing about my work has always been that you listen to your inner voice and you listen to your intuition. And it's one thing that I teach is that, I'm creating a course at the moment that will be out in the next month or so, which is about yoga for freedom. But the course in itself is about, dropping all those habitual behaviors and then getting to the core of who we are and listening to that voice, because it's been hidden for so long. It's been conditioned, and we've just forgot who we are, and we can still fall back into those habits, but it's having the tools to help you to come out of them. And one of those is having awareness. The first step in AA, in Alcoholics Anonymous, is having the awareness that I have a drink problem, and that's like having the awareness that you have these addictive behaviors that you go to because they feel safe, because you're scared to step out of the door and step through fear. We only go to those habitual habits because they feel safe, and we need to.
And that's our mind. That's that ego.
Yeah.
Protecting us, in its mind and in its infinite wisdom, thinking that it's protecting us and keeping us safe. And we've got to get out of those boxes. We're going to have to add your links to your
sure.
program when we get done here.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite book?
Oh my God, that's like crazy. If you can see my house, I just have like thousands of books and I don't get rid of them. I just I got my own damn library. I can see my library in a house, my house, my dream house, and a wall of library, with like like the stairs, the ladders that go, like in the Oxford.
You just slide down and you can jump on the one side and
woo, just that one. My favorite book, no, I can't honestly tell you. I'm because I have so many books for so many times. And another thing that I don't do is read a book again. So I'm very happy at giving a book away, because I like to do that, because I never read books twice.
Really?
No, never. I always have. I always stay with that experience of the book for the first time, and then I never read it again.
Give me a couple books that you like, or that you'd like, give me a couple books that you would recommend to someone that would maybe cause an epiphany.
Oh, definitely. If you're looking for self-help stuff, I would definitely say any of Dr. Joe's work. Any of his books, You Are the Placebo, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, or Being You, I think it's called. And is that the one? Yeah, breaking the habit of being you, I think it is. Any of his books, if you're looking for that sort of self-help stuff, if you want to work with sort of any kind of manifestation, I think a lot of the basic stuff comes from Abraham Hicks,
Oh yeah.
And the work that Esther and Jerry did, because that to me is I think I personally understand their work really well. But if I was wanting to sort of I'm very much into sort of fairy tale books. If I'm going to read some fiction, I want to read something where I get lost in it. So, oh God, I'm trying to think what I really like. I like the old traditional fairy tales, woodland stuff and all the things, like the Lord of the Rings things and Hobbit and all those things where I'm lost in another world. Always been like that, lost in another space, I'm quite happy to do that. At the moment, though, I'm reading, because I've got such an extreme. I had a few dreams about the plague, and how that affected the UK, and when it came from France, and how it affected the UK, and how it affected London, in the 1600s. And I started dreaming about this a few weeks ago, and I listened to my dreams, and I thought, I need to get a book about the plague. So I went out and I researched it, and I picked up this book, and it's by a woman called Rebecca. Oh God, I can't even remember the author's name, Rebecca something. I started reading this book, and it's talking all about London and how it was affected. And I realize now why I'm reading it. I know I was a witch anyway, but it's so similar to what's going on now.
Really?
With COVID. Yeah, it's just, there's parallels there, with what's going on. So I knew why I was led to it. And, we've lived this stuff before. It's just a different time. Now we didn't have social media in the 1600s, but now we've got social media, and it's just different, but it's the same.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to read. So I'm really led to books, to where I need to be at that time. So my view is that I just have to keep everything wide, open. I need to just be wide with my is it repertoire, should I say? And so I'm interested in anything, really. So I don't know if it helped, but it's a real mix. I could never say to you that if you said to me, then you must have a favorite book. I'm looking now, and I just think, nah, I can't tell you I have a favorite book, because I don't.
A lot of, I agree. There are a lot of books that I love, and some of them I'll reread. Like I reread Napoleon Hill and those kind of books. But
Think and Grow Rich stuff. Yeah.
But I'm with you.
Yes, reread it, because you have to reread that stuff, because it tells you something different every time. I guess
and you've got to work through the processes that are in that book. And even with Dr. Joe's stuff, I've reread and re-listened to his books, because I like you said, you catch something different each time. It's like with Abraham Hicks, you catch something different each time. And if you're a traditionalist and you want to go with like the Bible, you open the Bible and you may have read the Bible cover to cover, and still open it and read something, and I don't remember reading that. So you catch something that you need in all of them. But when I'm with you, I love like, I actually haven't read any in a long time, read anything fiction, but the dragons and the fairies and all that kind of stuff, that was my favorites. Had a brain fart.
I have a few though, regularly.
Forgot what the hell I was going to say. Okay, so let's go to the questions, because they're written here and I can see. Let's do that, because I completely forgot what I was going to say.
I'll probably answer them with something else today.
I need to go get my tea again. So what kind of message would you like to, because obviously this is for young ladies and for women. What kind of message would you like to give them?
Oh, the message is always the same with me. It's about really, truly, it sounds a bit cliche, but it's always about just asserting your wonderful mess, as I love to put it, because that's in any way that is creative, is getting yourself into, it doesn't mean, I don't mean you have to get yourself out there as in, I need to be all over and famous and on social media and all that. I'm talking about as long as you're doing it from a place of authenticity and you're working your life in the way that it should be worked. That you were saying about things that irritate you. One thing that irritates me is listening to people so miserable in what they're doing. And people have said to me, God, you're so lucky you actually do your hobby. And I said, but so can you as your job. It's like, so can you. It's not hard. It just takes you to actually, again, step through that door and go, no, I'm just going to do this. I work with so many women who have just had enough of being in the corporate world, and they've sacked it all off. They've given up the money and they've said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And I'm going to do my healing work, or I'm going to do, my Reiki or whatever they do, their massage. You do have to, sometimes you do have to take a cut financially, but you've got to work out what it is that's more important to you. So I'm always about the soul searching. It's like, find your teacher, find the person that resonates with you. I'm not a plugger of myself, because the reason is I'm just so confident with the fact that I'm good at what I do, that I always am aware that the people that come to me are the people that vibe with my energy.
Exactly.
And then
you're going to find somebody who you vibe with, and that's the person that you need to be working with.
Always.
Once you're open to it, you'll find that person.
Totally.
Once you're open. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with people who don't, again, like I said, they've been curious about my work, but they've not been my ideal client. I mean, I know what my ideal client looks like, and I can tell you what that is. I can tell you what that person is, because guess who that ideal client was me. So if you're looking for clients, you start with, who were you then? Who were you? Because that's your ideal client. That person and
it doesn't have to be, perfect. It just, that's the person that you're trying to help, because that's the person that you know best.
Yeah.
Who you were back then. The crap that you had to go through to get to where you are now. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what kind of legacy do you want to leave, Indra?
Gotta get this damn bullgrin. I just said it. That's it. Do you know what? It's my biggest thing. Is my book. You know this about me. I'm going to just be so accountable to this thing that I'm going to say right now on here, is that, I am the most frustrated writer. That one of the biggest things for me is that I work on with my writing is the fact that I can do it. And that's my thing, is the writing, which is why the book isn't gone out yet. One of the books is written already. It's already there. And it's one of the goals for next year, that it's done and it's finished and it's out, and it's going to happen next year, because it's my next thing. After I've done my course, created, it's the next thing. The course is you've got to remember that you've got to think about, you've got to think about your financial situation first. You can't just go, I'm just going to run over here and, do this, but what's going on financially for you. And then since COVID, my life shifted as far as my work goes, because, I lost the work in the hospital working with mental health. That was okay. I dealt with that really well, due to the fact I knew that the energy needed to shift and change, and I needed to leave. So now I'm bringing that work into the world. That work that I did in the hospital here is now, it doesn't need to be stuck in a hospital down my road. It needs to be there with you all, which is what I'm creating.
The big world, not just little world. Yes, I know.
That's like the financial side, but the big thing for me is is the book, that the books,
Books.
But the first one is a children's book.
Yeah.
The first one's a kid's book, and you know, that has to be about. I want to start with people that are young with this stuff.
Oh yeah. We do. My long story short, my daughter was sick. I'll tell you afterwards. And I went down to spend some time with them. And I had my grandkids. We went and got crystals, lapis lazuli and tiger's eye, and just all kinds of like healing stones. And we showed them how to energize them. And we did a clearing and, burned, incense and just smudged the house and did all of this stuff. And my grandkids were all over it. I mean, completely. I did not have to, trying to explain why you're doing this and trying to change beliefs, because those beliefs weren't there. If we start with them young now, before life has browbeat them and said, oh no, that's not gonna, why are you smudging the house? There's no negative energies in the house. That's just crazy. Which is honestly where I would have been 20 years ago. That's where I was. But now, no. Now it's completely shifted. I've gone from one extreme to the other. So, all right.
As empaths, we do pick up stuff as well. So we have to be very aware of that a lot of the stuff that we're walking around with, it doesn't belong to us.
And that's one thing that I didn't even realize. I didn't know that that's something that my defense mechanism is shutting down for that. It's just literally creating a wall, because I love my sister like nobody. And her energy is so high that I took on a lot of that. And so to protect myself, I created this bubble around myself, and I didn't realize that that's what it was. Now I understand. And now, of course, I've, come back into me and have expanded that bubble, and then I can protect myself from that. But I didn't know that for the longest time. And when somebody brought it up to me, I was like, the first time I ever heard anything about it, I shut it down completely, because I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm so used to doing things like this, that this is the only way that it's going to be. So that's part of the reason why it frustrates me when people do that, because I understand that, and I know that you can change, and you're being a detriment to yourself. So get out of that. But yeah, it's starting with the young kids, and being able to allow them to be more open, and realizing how easy life can be when you get that mind shift.
Yeah.
And allow for that manifestation and that understanding of how energy works. Yeah. Absolutely. You got to get your book out there.
No, I will.
Imperative. Look, if I can finish it, it's not that big. Mine is tiny. Trust me, get it out there.
Yeah. So
last question. What's one question that I didn't ask you that I should have or could have?
God, I think we covered everything. One question that you didn't ask me that you should have asked me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what came to me?
What?
I actually thought you were going to ask me this. What's your favorite color?
I'm going to guess blue.
I don't have a favorite color, because I like all colors, but blue is obviously one that everybody relates it to. It was funny, because halfway through I got this thought that Tommy's going to ask me what my favorite color is. And I was really surprised that you didn't ask me what my favorite color was. So yeah, because I think color is such a big thing in my life, and I've always worked with color and done color therapy. So I am always very interested in what colors people vibe with. And then I'm sat looking at you, and I'm so in this sort of center of groundedness and base chakra and will and strength that's going on in the in the background there, because all I'm seeing is color, because you're in red too. So I'm just, colors being just here. So I'm gonna say that's what it is. So that was the question.
That's a fantastic question. I love that question. I'm gonna have to add that. So that's gonna be one of the new questions. People are gonna be like, what? How? Okay, this is important. Thank you so much, Indra. I
Oh,
had
you're
a blast. I loved having you here. We are going to be doing this again, and we're going to be talking more about other stuff as well. But thank you very much for doing this. I so greatly appreciate you, and I appreciate everything that you're putting out into the world.
Thank you. And you, my love.